Hey everybody, it's Steve. It's May 1st here in Ridgefield, and we have an exciting day today because today we get to install 2 new packages of bees. Everybody always asks me what goes on when we do these things, so I thought I'd make a quick video and post it so that people can see. These here are Italian bees. They were just delivered through the post office up from Georgia. Normally we call bees a colony of bees, but these are Italian bees, so we call them a mob. I'm just kidding, that's what we refer to as a dad joke. This is a colony of bees. We're going to be posting them up today in their new home here. They have a nice bee yard that we have created for them here on St. John's and Wilton Road West. And I'm going to take you through what the bee yard is, how the boxes are, and how to install a new set of bees. I had to get a new set of bees because, well, bears got to eat, and they took out the last set. So hopefully these guys will do a little bit better, and maybe we'll put up some protection for them this year. All right, more to come. So like I said, this is 2 new colonies of bees that have just arrived in 2 separate boxes. They come in through the U.S. Postal Service when we order them a few months ago, and then they get them all packaged up. What you'll have inside of here is about 10 to 15,000 bees in each one of these packages. They'll also have a can, which you can't quite see right now, with food in it. And when we take off this top piece, I'll lift that can out to release the bees. Also inside of there is a queen. But she's held in a cage right now because really most of these bees come from different hives throughout the beekeeper's apiary. So in other words, this isn't all one family of bees, it's a mixture of many different ones. Therefore, the queen has to be put inside of a cage because they'll all want to kill her. So what they do is, I'll show you a little bit later, this little queen cage that basically has some candy on one end, and they'll eat through the candy to try and get to the queen and her little helpers that are in that cage. But by the time they get to the queen, her pheromones will have taken over, and all the bees inside of that colony will start to listen just to her. Now, welcome to the bee yard here in Ridgefield. This is what we refer to as our back 40. There's the house back in there, and this is some area that we've cleaned up for the habitat, and the deer love it back here, and nice and safe for the bees. And as I mentioned, well, the bears come through as well. What we have here is a couple of different things. Most bees will have 2 brooding boxes. That's these 2 here. In the beginning, we're just going to have them be inside of one of those. But I have the top brood box in place because when we put the package bees in, they'll be lumped over and mounded over, and we don't want to put the top on and squish them. So we'll leave that for a day or 2 until they drop down into the frames. And then this here is a feeder. So they'll come up through the middle there, and they'll climb into this, and we'll be filling this with half sugar, half water mix that'll keep them fed for the first 5 weeks that they're here in the apiary. And that helps to juice them up as they start to really set to getting the honeycomb made and put into place in all these frames. And then of course, we'll put the hood on, which I'll show you later as well. Inside of the box, each one of these frames will host all the bees. Will put their honey, their brood, any of their food, and their stores along the way. And I mark them as different years. I mentioned the bear took it out. The bear took it out in actually 2022. And in 2023, the bees that were delivered to me were dead, unfortunately. So I had to wait a whole nother season to be able to get this year's 2024 one. But these frames are still marked, so I know they're good. Now they're set up in this way, these frames, to be 10 of them inside of each brood box. And the reason why they're set up this way is because in between each of them is what's referred to as bee space. Bees will go and create comb in all the space possible, leaving just enough room for them to wiggle in and out and in between things. And so when you pack it up like this, then the bees will make the comb inside of each of these frames, and you can remove the frames and move them around. And for example, like how they get the bees to be put inside of the package. They'll just take a frame out of one colony, dump them into the package, and then go to another colony and do the same. Okay, we're back up to the truck, and we got the bees here. What I have here is a little sugar water, and just to try and calm them down a little bit, we'll just spray a little bit on them here and there, since they've been a little agitated from the bumping around in the back of the truck, bringing them back from the post office. But before I open up these boxes and start getting into them, let me show you a couple of the tools. This is probably the most important tool, and this is called a hive tool, or beehive tool. And basically what it does, it helps to pry things open, get down and pull out the frames that are inside of things, be able to scrape down the various areas, etc. And a very important and efficient tool that's used by all the beekeepers. Simple, clean, but been used forever. I also have a couple other things. This is a bee, excuse me if I can get it out of here. This is a bee clamp that I use to get the frames out. You just stick that on there, squeeze it, and pull out the frames nice and easy. And then I have this little tool here that you hang on the side to be able to put the frames in while you pull them out and you're inspecting the hives, which is always very important. And then of course, you're never going to do bad if you have a nice bee brush. So this will be in my back pocket with this tool here when we go to open these guys up. But now I'm going to just go ahead and get myself suited up, because you know, the reality is I'm what's referred to as a bee haver. I have bees. I'm not as comfortable. Most beekeepers could probably do this without having the suit on, because they're going to be a little preoccupied and not be out to sting anybody. But given that I'm not a professional beekeeper, although I've been doing it for 15, 20 years, I'm more a bee haver. I have bees and I take care of them, and they take care of our gardens and give us some honey. But at the end of the day, I'm not a bee expert by any means, so we're gonna suit up and get ourselves safe as possible. Okay, so I'm all set up here in my sexy bee suit. I'm not actually wearing the gloves right now, so I can get in and grab a few things. But I haven't touched this colony yet. But what I've already done now is I just pried out this can of sugar water, which you'll see right there. I'm just leaving it down there so the bees can continue to get some as they want to. And that releases the bees and lets them to come out. Now also there's a little strap here you'll see, and I'll show you in the next hive. That's where the queen cell or the queen cage was. Now I've already installed the queen cage into this colony, into this hive. And basically you take off the little cork that's right there, and then you place the queen cage in between two of the frames, and she's down inside of there with a couple of her helpers keeping her clean, etc. And inside that little hole where I took the cork out is some candy, and the bees will start eating towards that candy. Right now they're kind of fighting at the cage to get to her, but they'll start eating at that candy to try and get the queen out of there. And as I mentioned earlier, by the time they get her out, her pheromones will have taken over and she'll be really the queen of the hive now. So now what we do is the easy part, a little less how do I put it, calming than you really want it to be. But now we just shake this guy and dump the bees in. So now you see why I kept the other frame box on top, because they'll just kind of sit here until they get sucked into all the frames. So we're going to get as many of them out as possible. Unfortunately, there's going to be dead ones in this box from transit. But what the bees will do is that any of the dead ones that fall out and into the colony, they'll just carry them out later and get rid of them. So we're just trying to dump them all in here. Shaky, shake, 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 shake. It's not their favorite thing, as you can see, but they'll figure it out. Can't get them all out of there, but I'm trying, it's not easy. All right, and so there you got it. Now you got a whole bunch of bees that are just going to start to swarm into that hive. And then this guy here, I'll just leave out here, and then the rest of them will fly their way in after I close it up. I've got them all in here. I'm going to let them sit for a minute, give them a little love for some sugar water, and then I'm going to take out the brush here and just kind of brush them in from the over the top here, because I'm going to put on the feeding frame. See that? Just brush them off there, because what you don't want to do is kill a bee. What happens when you kill a bee is that they let off a pheromone, and that pheromone is kind of a danger sign. And once that pheromone starts to get released, well, then they start getting angry and going after whatever might have created that harm. So you don't want to create too much of an issue along the way with them. But there I got it on, and you'll see one is already starting to come out. And right now I'll go ahead and fill this up with a little bit of sugar water. All right, easy peasy. We got a mixture of 1 part sugar, 1 part water, and we're just going to pour it into here, and these frames will float. You don't want to get any to drop into the hive itself, because you don't want to drown them or get them all icky and sticky. But basically you create this little reservoir of sugar that then allows them to go in and get some fake food, if you will, until they can really get going with the pollen supplies and the nectar. And these floats here basically keep it so that they don't go in and drown. So they'll just be able to walk around, soak all that up, and within a day or so, this whole thing, a whole gallon or so, will be gone. And then the last bit here. So the last bit, as I referenced there, was putting the lid on. Just quietly put that on so you don't create too much stress along the way. And I'll say there's probably not too much stress because they're just kind of hanging out on me. I've got 2 of them sitting on the phone. I wish I can give you the video of that. But they're just kind of hanging out. Okay, I'm gonna go try and get going quickly with this colony here because the other colony is starting to roam around and in. But here's me taking the can out, and you can see again, as I mentioned, little holes under there where the bees can feed, and I'm just going to put that there so that they can continue to do their feeding and the like. Now I mentioned earlier that we have the queen cage. Get out of the way there, little buddy. And there's the queen. Oops, sorry. Here's the queen cage right there. So we're going to pull her out. And you can see all the bees, a little bit of, aggressive, not necessarily wanting her in what they consider their hive, because they haven't gotten used to her pheromones yet. But as I mentioned, you'll see, come on, out of the way. You'll see the top here has little sugar right there, and then the cap, which they're also already trying to get into. Out of the way. There's the cork that I'm going to take out in a second. And so she's in there hanging out. Now I'm going to go real quick, just cut this off, and then I can set the queen cage into this hive. Okay, here I am with the queen cage. And what I'm going to do now is try and get her inside of here without this guy stinging me. Hold on a second. How about you guys? You guys get away from me. Thank you. All right, so this guy here, I had to take a frame out, and I'm just going to slide it in here. It's very difficult to do with just one hand. Slide in here. Don't squish her. Come on, out of the way. Out of the way. Thank you. Out of the way. Thank you. So we get down in there. Squish that right into there. There we go. And I'll just slide the other frame back into place. Hopefully. Come on. Oh, sorry, I'm not showing you. So I'll slide the frame back into place, and then we'll put the last frame back in as well. So we just drop that back in there, and now you've got the queen cage in there with the cap that they can start to get everything out. Well, the bees are having fun with me right now. But now let's put this back up on top, like so. Don't squish any bees. Out of the way, please, ladies. Thank you. You don't want to squish any, at least as few as possible, because then they get a little upset. All right, so that was that. Now I get to do the dumping again. I'm going to just use 2 hands to do it this time, but we'll just dump all the bees in there, put on the feeder, and then the lid, and then we'll get out of the way for a little bit, and I'll tell you some more stuff. Okay, so here we are back in the bee yard. The bees are doing real good. They're just kind of making their way, trying to find their way in and out of the hive and starting to get all their smells right. And hopefully by tomorrow we'll see a nice couple of calm colonies, and in another few days they should be out to the queen and have her roaming around. I'll check in on the sugar water here and there, make sure they're getting plenty of that, and just keep an eye on it. Probably tomorrow or the next day I'll also take off the top brood box right up there, which will make this a shorter box, and I'll strap it all down so it doesn't get knocked over by, let's say, a bear or raccoon or anything else that might want to come around and check things out. But here we are in the bee yard, and hopefully they'll have plenty to eat this summer, and we'll have plenty of honey towards the end of the year. Okay, here we are back out a little bit later in the evening. You'll see they're settling in well, calming down a good bit. They are starting to bring out their dead, as you'll see them dragging them out here. You'll see a few down at the mouth of the hive, etc. But a big shout out to Mountain Sweet Honey. I guess they're based out of Georgia. These both colonies came really good shape, so really not that many left behind. If you can see, they're pretty cleared out of the cage or the package at this point. I did open up the top earlier, and they're all over the sugar water and going after it. So I do see a few coming in with some pollen too, which I thought would be a little bit early for that, but some of them are out foraging already and finding their way back to the colony, so that's nice. So yeah, you can see them right there pulling out some of the dead bees. So they're just cleaning out the hive on their own. A couple million years of evolution, they figure everything out. All right, here we are right about sunset. So still a relatively nice warm day out, but you'll see that pretty much all the action is done for today. They're all inside the box, which is good. Now normally they'd be out foraging and still coming back in at this time, but since they haven't been out foraging, they're just all inside working and taking care of things. So great sign. Glad to hear everybody's all in, and we'll see how they're doing in the next few days.